So Ellen got herself in trouble a few months back with accusations of a toxic work environment at her show. Her first show back was yesterday, and she started with a statement slash apology that was 4 minutes, 42 seconds long. What I'd like to do today is break down that apology through the eyes of someone who's been in the crisis management business for over 2 decades. So here we go. Number one, choice of clothing color. And I believe that this is meant to cash in on the good guys wear white archetype, first used in the 1903 film, The Great Train Robbery. I don't think this is a mistake either, whether this is forgiveness, apology, peace, whatever. We get most of our information not through words, but through visuals. So I think this, and this is how she started out, I don't think that was an accident. If you're watching because you love me, thank you. If you're watching because you don't love me, welcome. She's putting her viewers into two buckets. You don't get to choose which bucket you're in. She's choosing for you. She's actually telling you the fans love me and the new people don't. I learned that things happen here that should never have happened, and I want to say that I'm sorry to the people who were affected. The part I want to focus on here is I learned. What she's implying here is that she had no idea that this was going on. She doesn't come out and say that, but it's sort of a passive way of saying it. I learned, I was made aware. She's not actually saying I had no idea what was going on, but that's the implication here. So a lot of the things I'm noticing here are not actually what she's saying. It's what she's not saying. And she's really kind of walking a very fine line around some of those things. So she's trying to step away from accountability in a lot of ways. She says, this is the Ellen DeGeneres show. I am Ellen DeGeneres, obviously. My name is over here. My name is over there. And then she makes one of a couple weirdly placed jokes. My name is on underwear, and the virtual audience has a little chuckle. She's trying to be funny in the middle of an apology. I think it doesn't fit. I see what she's trying to do there, but I don't think it works. We've had a lot of conversations over the past few weeks about the show, our workplace, and what we want for the future. This is very vague. It sounds promising, but there's no substance here. You know, who's we? And what was the substance of those conversations? We've made the necessary changes. I'm not going to tell you what they were. Just trust me. And that there's a huge lack of transparency and accountability there. And the next one, today we're starting a new chapter. It sounds like new beginnings and resurrection and possibilities, but what's not said there and what she's really trying to say is we're closing the old chapter. I call this the Obi-Wan Kenobi technique. I'm not sure it works here, but I got to give her props for trying it out. And then she flirts with kind of calling herself a victim. I became known as the Be Kind lady, and here's how that happened. I started saying be kind to one another after a young man named Tyler Clementi took his own life after being bullied for being gay. So being known as the Be Kind lady is a tricky position to be in. So if you look at how she structured this, it's about something very altruistic and very nice that she did. And she's basically saying, like, I didn't want to be this kind person up on this pedestal, and who could ever live up to that? Here's reality, and here's where you put me. So it's kind of your fault as a viewer, and it's not kind of cool when you're apologizing. You don't want to be the victim. You want the other people who are actually victims to be the victims. Then she addresses that gap. The truth is, I am that person you see on TV, but I'm also a lot of other things. She says, sometimes I get sad, sometimes I get mad, I get anxious, I get frustrated, I get impatient, and I'm working on all of that. And so this, we're talking about, this is not a simple woman. This is a very sophisticated entertainer. She's in her 60s. She's been in the business for years. She makes gazillions of dollars. She understands the Hollywood machine. She's got almost 300 people working for her. And to describe your feelings like a toddler is kind of weird, and I think sort of patronizing to the audience. I call this the Dr. Seuss technique. I get mad in a cab, and I was sad on a rad. And again, I see what you're trying to do. It doesn't quite hit the mark. My intention is to always be the best person I can be. And if I've ever let someone down, if I've ever hurt their feelings, the big problem here is the if. You can't qualify an apology with if. So if I ever let someone down, if I ever hurt their feelings, do you have Twitter? Like, people's feelings were hurt. If you go online, you'll feel that. So the ifs, everything, it's all these weasel words and trying to distance yourself an arm's length. So the ifs don't really cut it. There's no room in apology for if. I'm so sorry for that. This is probably the best part of the whole thing. She says she's sorry, but the ifs that preceded it really take away a lot of the authenticity. So it could have been stronger and didn't quite make it. If that's ever the case, I've let myself down and I've hurt myself as well. So not only did I let you down, I let me down. Like, Ellen hurt you, well, Ellen hurt me too. And so she's trying to put herself in the same group as the audience. And it's a tricky one to do, and she actually almost pulls it off, but I don't think that strategically this is a great idea. You should be talking more about the victims than you are about yourself. And now I'm a boss of 270 people. And right after that, she says, again, 270 people who make this show what it is. And right after that, again, she says, 270 people who she's trying to put the complainers in perspective, because we are all focusing on the complainers, the people who had stories, the people who said they were bullied, the people who said they were mistreated. And what she's doing here in a very subtle way, again, it's not overt, she's saying, look, there's 270 people that work here. I call this the Steven Spielberg technique. She's taking the camera and panning it back. Instead of focusing on this half dozen of complainers or people who are complaining about mistreatment, let's pull back and think there's 270 people here, most of whom aren't complaining in the public anyway. This is definitely there on purpose. Not sure it works. You know, you can be the judge. And then we get to this one. I'm surprised by more people weren't upset by this. She takes a bit of a turn and says, this has been a horrible summer for people. People are losing their jobs. People are losing loved ones to a pandemic. People are losing their homes and their lives in raging fires that are going on. There's blatant racial injustice all around us. And so, yeah, all of that's going on. But what she's not saying, what she's really saying is, with all this stuff going on, why are you guys picking on me? There's a pandemic, there's fires, there's racism. Why are you focusing your efforts on me? She's trying to be like the moral conscience of society, but really she's trying to distance herself from that and say, look, these huge problems and there's little old Ellen, so why are you bothering on me? I watch the news and I feel like, where do we even begin? So she sets out the pandemic, the fires, the racism, and then she says, like, where do we begin? And this, I think, is the ballsiest part of the whole thing, where she basically inserts herself as the hero or savior. I will fix this. I want to continue to help all the people that we help every day. And she says, I want to continue to be that 1 hour where people come here and escape and laugh. So she's created a problem, which basically she's saying, don't look at this problem over here. Look at these big problems over here. And who's going to fix that? I'm going to fix that because I make people laugh. So again, interesting. Not sure it works. And I'm committed to making this the best season that we've ever had. And that's basically the end of the apology. It like leaves it on a nice note, but it's really kind of abrupt. I was waiting for the elephant in the room to be addressed, and we never got to that. And I can imagine if you're one of the people who was at the core of this controversy, that this apology doesn't really cut it for you. To make matters a little bit more interesting or worse, right after she says this, they cut to this guy who's like signaling to us how we should be feeling about it. And then they flash to the audience who, like, they've never heard anything better in their lives. So we're actually being signaled as viewers, like, see what you just heard? That's how you should feel about it. So I think that's kind of interesting as well. So how did she do overall? A couple of positive things. She did address the issue, which she could have just ignored it altogether, which I think would have been a horrible idea. She made some of her hardcore fans feel good, like, yeah, Ellen, you did it. I talked to some of those people today and they thought it was actually quite good. And the whole new chapter thing I thought was probably the best idea within it, even though it would have been better if she actually had a real apology behind it. Some of the knocks against it that I thought the jokes were misplaced, especially for such serious subject matter. The hint at being a reluctant hero, I never asked to be the be kind lady. Ultimately, the biggest problem is the apology wasn't a real apology because she didn't address the elephant in the room, which was about the whole allegations and what's being done. I sensed a lack of empathy throughout. That's what you always want to see in an apology, and you want it to be genuine, and I thought that was lacking. And in terms of the devices that were meant to minimize or distance her from the actual crisis or scandal, the 270 employees piece, hint, most of whom aren't complaining. There are bigger fish to fry, there are bigger crises in the world, why are you looking at me? And way too many ifs for a real apology. Final grade, C-, not a great apology. And that's it. Not the worst apology in the world, certainly not the best. I'd be interested to know your opinion. Did you think the apology missed the mark? Did you think it was great? Leave your opinion in the comments below. Did you see something that I missed entirely? There's no one right or wrong way to view this. I just thought it might be interesting to take a look through the eyes of someone who's done crisis management for many, many years.